So, Jerry O'Reilly's assessment of what he's done in his heating system so far, it's 3rd of August 18. So, Jerry, you've sent me through these two diagrams, which show that you have 8 different legs or runs on your whole heating system. Those 8 is shown there, and you've given me a flow side of it, kind of you've done it on a manifold type basis now, and a return there, the return side as well, showing where the whole 8 of them are. So what you've done is a kind of a half of two possible options, which you would kind of need to focus on either one or other. So what I'll do is go through the options, which I've shown on this page here. On a general heating system with a manifold like that, option 1 would be to go like this. So what you'd have, I've shown 6 loops or zones here, you have 8. There's the 6 I've shown, with my flow coming in here and my return going back up there to the boiler. And each leg is represented by a valve here and a valve here to kind of isolate it, and this little thing is the heating resistance, if you like. So the flow will come down each leg here and back up. The difficulty you have is that there are very varying resistances in your legs, because some of them have long pipes and then branches off and more long pipes and so on and so forth. So option 1 would be to use just one pump, and with a would be to use just one pump in the system between the boiler, which forces all the water through all the legs together, and you have a regulation valve on each leg. You could use either that valve or that valve to regulate the flow down. In extreme instances you might need flow meters on here, but you probably don't. And then what happens is, if you have a very high resistance leg here, you have to shut down the flow on all the other legs in order to allow enough flow through here. Therefore you're equalizing the resistance of them by adding a valve, if you like. And then when you do that, if you don't have enough flow here, what you might need to do is to add a second pump, or a bigger pump, or 2 bigger pumps, to get you much more pumping power through these legs. So in that instance, I'll just pause and add it again. In that instance, we would add a second large pump here. Now we've doubled the pumping power through here, so if you have a very high resistance, you can now open these valves a bit to equalize them, and you get much better flow through them all. So that's probably what I'd be recommending for you. But the option 2, which is a more expensive option, requires a pump on each leg. So and in this instance, you don't bother putting a pump on the boiler. You could put a pump on the boiler as well, but it's since you've already got to have 6 or 8 pumps in your instance, you probably wouldn't bother putting one on the boiler, and each of these would be individually controlled by their zone stat, or else they all come on together, or it might be upstairs and downstairs, depending on how the electrics and zoning is done. But this is the more expensive option, but here you have clear individual pump for each circuit, so you don't have to regulate the valves really. And here, if we have our high resistance one, like we showed in the example above, in this high resistance one, you have one pump dedicated to it, so you don't have to reduce these. The only thing is, to do it right, you need a valve, a pump, a non-return valve, and then this symbol is the heater resistance, and then just an isolation valve here as well. So there's a lot more plumbing and a lot more expense here, and what you have then is a mishmash of the two, which you might get away with and it might work. So you have your boiler and your one boiler pump, but then you've added pumps to some of the legs and not others, and that's where you're getting the imbalance. So some of the ones with the pumps will suck the life out of the other legs, because they don't have pumps and this does. So anything that's been supplied into the manifold by the boiler pump is getting all sucked down here. So that's That's what you got to cure really, and you got to go with either one or the other. Or perhaps you might go with this one with in a very high resistance one. You might put in a pump here and balance it down to play around with it till you just get the right flow on them all, and you're not starving these. Okay.